The B Plus Recap Countdown.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's B Plus. Welcome to another Recap Countdown. I have a very special one. You can see I have a guest here, Spoken Worth. Go ahead and say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? My name is Spoken Worth, and I'm a spoken word artist. I'm super excited to be here on today's show, and I'm super excited to talk about my most recent album, Crucible Chronicles.
Yeah. So as you guys know, if you're following my channel, you know what I do with these recap countdowns. It's a lot of Christian hip hop. It's a lot of Christian rap. Stepping outside of that because I saw his promo for his single, I believe it was The Fall, and I was just like, I just have to promo this album. And I feel like God challenged me to do something a little bit different. So here we go. We're going to hop into this recap countdown. But before I go ahead and do that, if this is your first time, really quickly, here's what I do. I take a look at my 5 favorite bars, my 4 favorite beats, my 3 favorite tracks, my 2 favorite features, and 1 final recap. I love it. Let's go ahead and get started.
5 bars.
Unity isn't uniformity, and transformation isn't conformity. Discipline has become an anomaly. Normally, honor is respected, but there's an overwhelming trend of disrespect that has intercepted our culture. Let's dive into the depths of love. Let's rewrite history and do what's never been done. Let's welcome each other's pain and trauma. Let's lavish our scarred souls with words of comfort. I am secure, protected, and welcome. God wouldn't trade us for a second. I am a man who speaks life into others only because life was given without question. I am courageously compassionate, infectiously energetic. I'm not who they expected. I'm not me. My self-worth was molded by my shadow. All of my gold was sold for some plastic. I went from precious to pitiful, from memorable to miserable. Guilt continued to grow until sin became my comfort zone. I was reach out for more, I implore you. You won't sink in sin when you're drinking water that's been walked on by the one who created it. And flesh will become tasteless when blood becomes sacred. I've been forgiven and I've been liberated. I've been rebooted and I've been redesignated.
Hey.
Yeah, so first of all, before we begin to the bars, I just really enjoyed it, man. I remember my first listen to it was on my commute on my way into work. And I was just like, man, this is a really, really good project. So it's not exactly hip hop, but the bars, and it's like, I've been to a lot of spoken word events. I used to actually DJ for some spoken word events when I lived up in Cincinnati. And I can't remember the name of it, but I just remember all the snaps that people would give when people would drop the type bars. So go ahead and talk to me a little bit about actually number 5 and number 4. I kind of grouped those together just because I felt like you were kind of talking a little bit to just how disjointed the body can be, just how disjointed the world can be nowadays. You talked about uniformity versus unity, conformity versus actual transformation. So that was from the Vicious Times line, but also I kind of linked that to what I heard in The Journey Continues. So talk a little bit about those 2 lines.
Yeah, so like in Vicious Times, the whole poem in Vicious Times is all about the darkness of the world. We live in dark times. We live in twisted times, crooked times.
Yeah.
And it's tough because this album all plays like a role within a specific storyline. So this poem plays a role within the album from the perspective, like it preludes right before Man in the Mirror. And so it's actually from a place of woundedness, and I see all these problems in the world. I have all these judgments in the world, right, of the world, and a lot of these judgments may be true of the world. A lot of times they are, but I don't realize yet that those judgments I see, I have myself. So the things I see,
got it.
I have the problems within myself. So as I'm, the whole poem, Vicious Times, it's just judgments towards the world, everything that is dark and twisted about the world. But the wounded boy within the story doesn't realize that all of those things are actually within himself, and he has to look in the mirror first to change those things. And so when I'm talking about all the things that the world has kind of got backwards, right? We've mistaken unity for uniformity. We think that everything has to look the same, be the same, think the same in order for it to be in harmony with each other, right? But I don't realize that, hey, Bryce, I'm someone who struggles tremendously with working with other people who don't see eye to eye with me. So it's easy to make these judgments, and these judgments may be true, but it's hard to recognize and identify how those are true about me as well. And I need to take a really hard reflection before I want to create any substantial change around me. I have to change those things about me first. So that's kind of the first one. And then the second one was in The Journey Continues, which I really love that you picked that out. You picked out bars that like are some of my personal favorites.
Oh, dope.
I don't know if other people really like would have picked up on or really loved or emphasized. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So again, it's at the end of the album, and the album itself was written and inspired. And I have some backstory videos on my own YouTube channel about this that you can check
I've been
out.
seeing those.
But so the whole story itself, the whole concept came together from an actual men's retreat weekend that I went to and experienced. And like, I'm open to talking to anybody about that. It's not the solution to all my problems, but it definitely equipped me with a path of healing moving forward. And so The Journey Continues is something that is a truth that I believe. I think life is a journey, and everything we do every day is a process, and the journey continues. Every time you wake up, the journey continues. Every time you get in your car, the journey continues. When you go to the grocery store, when you go in, it's not just on church on Sundays or God is wanting to mold us and shape us and use us in everything we do. And in this experience I had on March 26th to the 28th of 2019, I found authentic and radical grace and mercy for my wounds and for things in my life that I never thought were possible here on earth. And in the song, in that moment, I'm really just wanting to communicate that if we are more open with each other, if we're like, if we kind of get past the facades of the shallowness and we dive into the depths of intimacy with each other, if we're radically honest and truthful with each other about everything, about the Bible talks about how confess your sins to one another, right? And pray for one another for healing, right? What we don't realize is that there's healing through transparency and openness. And when our wounds come together and we hear other people's stories or we hear other people's trauma,
that's very true.
Connection with that, and we can actually find healing together, and it can sing a more beautiful song. I think that's the beauty of the church. It takes broken people from so many places of brokenness. It brings them all together. And if we're honest with each other, like John talks about, don't lie. If we say we're without sin, we deceive ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put all of that messiness, all the sin, all the ugliness, everything that's we've done to others, everything that has happened to us, we put it on the forefront. We can find healing together through Jesus. And so The Journey Continues is just a song about how life is about moving forward and healing, but we do that together. We don't do that alone.
And I feel like that's when you look at how polarizing things are today, each side they're not willing to look at their own faults, but they're willing to amplify and maximize the other side's faults. And they want to minimize theirs. So, and I also thought it was just super fitting that like, you're ending this story with The Journey Continues. So it's kind of like, it's the end of this, but you're like kind of looking forward. So let's move on to three. My third bar that I really enjoyed, and that was the one on Shadow and Gold. Now I heard Shadow and Gold throughout the entire project, and I was trying to piece together what they were. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I really like the line that I really enjoyed was the being courageously compassionate and infectiously, I can't say that word, sorry, but energetic. So I like that. I like that, kind of like that wordplay there. And I think it's alliteration you did there.
Yeah. That's just, so that poem is just all about the truth about who I am, all the things I don't like about myself, the things that I try to hide from maybe other people, that I don't want people, all of that truth, but also all of my gold, everything that that God has gifted me with, given me, who I am. And honestly being proud of that, not being proud of myself, but being proud of what God has done through Jesus. And the whole, point of that is seeing ourselves in life and other people, not just through my shadow, not just through my gold, but through both. It's true that I'm a wicked, crooked, broken person. My sin crucified Jesus, but it's also true that I'm created in the image of God and I was died for, and that Jesus would never change that. And so,
yeah.
You know,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, that's, and also like that similar contrast was in my line from the fall. So I really enjoyed just like how like you had like this common thread throughout the entire project of shadow and gold, and you don't overtly just define those. You just kind of let us grab a hold of what those are. And let's finish up with number one. My favorite line off of the project was on Reborn. It was one of those times where just like if you're at like a spoken word event, everybody stands up and they're snapping, and like that was just like the line for me, like my favorite line on the entire project about the not sinking in sin. If you took a drink of the water that he walked, it was just brilliant, man.
When you're drinking water that's been walked on by the one who created it, flesh will become tasteless when blood becomes sacred. So yeah, it's just playing.
That's so good.
To emphasize how we find transformation and change and healing when we begin to take a taste of Jesus, right? When we take, I like what the psalmist says. He says, "Come and taste that the Lord is good," right?
Yeah.
So when we taste that goodness from Jesus, we begin to have a different, like we begin to salivate over different things. And so it's just this idea that once we see the blood of Jesus and what he's done, the taste, the taste of the flesh won't taste the same when we had it.
Yeah.
It tastes different.
That's good.
Good. And so, I'm glad you picked up on that line. I'm really.
Oh yeah. And it's like one of those things where like if you ever go out and you taste something that's new, that's good, you never leave that experience like, nope. I'm fine if I never have that again. Like you're automatically like thinking like, oh, I gotta go find somebody else who needs to go taste it. Or
my wife and I, we can go get tacos, right? And street tacos here are really good. They're really good, authentic tacos. We've been to Mexico City and had real street tacos. So now going to Taco Bell doesn't taste the same. I'm not trying to like sound holier than thou, but like I hear what you're saying. Like once you taste something that's hot, that it's a certain quality, it's hard to just be okay with something that's just so less than that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Well, let's go ahead and hop on to my 4 favorite beats, my 4 favorite pieces of production on this project, and check this out. All right, here we go.
4 beats.
Don't just listen to your thoughts, deliver your remarks, come back, talk back.
It's time to take a look inside. It's time to find what we've always needed. I refuse to quit, there will be no conceding. I want my blessing, I want my freedom. I need some change, I need some healing. I need what my inner child never received.
My man. That's crazy. You put the only beat I've ever actually made on that list. That's crazy.
That's what's up. Well, I don't want to hear which one it is yet. I want to talk through them. So number 4, like I said, I listened to this on my commute on the way to work, and like I was listening to it and I was waiting for like spoken word to start, and then it started to feel almost like a score. Almost it was a dope beat, but it sounded like a score, and I was just like, oh, this is just the intro. Then I looked at it and it said going to the ceremony. What does that mean, going to the ceremony?
It's all about, because again, this is a story of a boy. There's a story of transformation. So it is before the whole album because it is meant to prepare the listener's mind, emotions, just kind of where they're at before they hear the story that they're going to hear. So it's almost like, you know, gathering up someone and bringing them into the room they need to be in to hear what they need to hear or experience what they need to experience. So nice. It's an invitation, and the whole beat is basically just kind of like this. It's communicating this idea that we're going to somewhere else. We're going to a different place. And at this place is a place of change and transformation. And it's kind of mysterious. Like, you don't know where you're going, but you know that when you get there, there's something there for you. Nice. If that makes sense.
So that makes sense. That makes sense. Talk to me about Talk Back, about the production on that one.
OB killed it. OB, so on Beat Music, he did the beat for Talk Back with Dylan Chase. He is the genius behind even the idea of the poem.
Let's move on to my second favorite piece of production on this project, which was Wrestle. I really enjoyed that just because it's like the production for spoken word, and like, I'm not super familiar with spoken word, but like the production for that versus for a rap song, do you have to think differently when you're picking production, or is it just, how does that work when you're kind of marrying those two?
We wanted to really collaborate spoken word with hip hops throughout this album, but really specifically on this song. We wanted this song to be like, we wanted to take spoken word and put it with hip hop, and we wanted it to be obvious. We didn't want people to think like, well, is this spoken word that's like trying to rap?
Yeah,
it's like rap that's like trying not to be rap. No, we wanted people to say, wow, that's spoken word, and wow, it's rap, like at the same time. And that's why we got J. Crumb on it. The beat, we didn't really we didn't really want to be too careful. I think we had to be more careful with how we wrote it. Like, specifically, like me and J. Crumb, I had to make sure that I wasn't trying to rap and write a rap verse.
Yeah.
And he had to really ensure that he wasn't trying to change up hip hop or rap to fit with a spoken word artist. We really just wanted to give each other room to do our thing and trust that it would work on the beat that was made. And B-Way, Long Story, DJ Long Story, Oh Snap, It's B-Way. He produced that. He produced 8 out of the 10 tracks, all of them except for Going to the Ceremony, which I produced, and then Talk Back, which OB produced. And so Wrestle, man, he sent me the guitar patterns and stuff.
I really like the guitar on that.
I was like, that's gritty. I like that. And then he slapped the drums and some of the other sounds on it. And I was like, that is nice. It's super simple, but it's like, it's hard hitting, it's gritty, and I think it would give room for me to really just hit on the strengths of what I do in spoken word, which is like passion and energy. Bring that, and we were really confident and knew J. Crumb would kill whatever he did.
Oh yeah, J. Crumb, he's been on fire this year. I don't know what's gotten into him, but his business is booming, and he's like taking people on like a rap tour around the world, trying different styles, and he's killing it.
And that's why we knew he would work. It would work because he's so diverse and versatile. And I think that's just because he's experienced, man. Like he's been around. He's done this for a long time, and it just, we knew it would work with him. So we wanted to bring him on board, especially for Wrestle. But yeah, Wrestle, B-Way, Oh Snap, It's B-Way, or Long Story. He goes by Long Story as well. So.
Okay. Well, let's hop into my favorite beat on the project, Man in the Mirror. I was as soon as I heard those horns, and then like in the middle when they start chopping up, and I was just like, what's getting ready to happen? And the thing is, I love Mitch Durrell. I never met him in person, but like I'm a fan of his. Like, I've met him and I've known him his entire life. I don't know why. That's just the way it is. But like I didn't know he was featured on there. But as soon as I heard that first, well, actually, let me save that because he might be later on in the countdown. So I'll save my Mitch Durrell stories. But talk to me about like that horn sample. Just talk to me about that production.
So B-Way did that one as well. And
nice.
We originally didn't. So he put the track together, and we wrote the first verse. So the first verse is almost like, if you imagine like an auditorium or a stage or an open mic setting, it's almost like me sitting on the stage, a single spotlight's on. It's kind of traditional spoken word almost in the beginning. But we knew we wanted to bring on someone to bring in more energy. We wanted to bring in someone, and we wanted to, we didn't know how to necessarily do that. And so B-Way was just like, hey, let's do a switch up. Let's.
Yeah, that was a good switch up too.
We have a basic like flow here for the first part of the song, and we can take that. Let me just add a bunch to it and make it like super kind of like insane. And I loved it, man. And then he said, so when it drops, it switches up right after my first verse.
Yeah, that was nice.
And I heard that. I was, at first we didn't have Mitch's verse. We just had the beat. And so I was like, dude, we need someone who can come on to this and just rap and just
he's perfect. He was perfect.
Just bring like, this is like, it's perfect. And I knew after that verse, I'm gonna have to come in with more energy, because it wouldn't make sense necessarily just to start the way I did, have Mitch, and then end it like that. It had to, but I don't know, B-Way killed it. I was really kind of nervous because we didn't have the switch up at first. We just had the basic part with the first verse, and I was like, we don't know what to do with this. We put a lot of time into it, but it felt like it wasn't going anywhere because we didn't really, we just didn't know what to do. And he really kind of freed up the creative space on what we could do when he came up with the idea for the switch, like this, to bring up the beat switch. I was like, oh my goodness, man. It was nice. It was like, that is so nice. And
nice. Well, cool. Well, let's keep this countdown going, and let's move on to my 3 favorite tracks.
Do it.
Right, here we go.
3 favorites.
Why do you listen when you should speak? I want to tell your soul to be complete. I want you reply, don't just weep. I want you talk back to toxic enemies. Top hat, off track, top hat. You on the wrong path, gotta talk back. Don't just listen to your thoughts, deliver your remarks, come back, talk back.
You need to check. Apologetic, but I love apologetics. I'm loved beyond measure, so no matter the weather, my gold I'll remember, and always remember that your shadow is only half of who you are. Don't forget your gold, because it was given by God. Can you help me see myself more clear? If I want change, then it starts with the man in the mirror.
Lord, I need you to help me fix everything that's broken. Put both hands on my brain, I want you to pry it open. Take this.
Yeah. Those are my 3 favorites.
In the song Talk Back with Dylan Chase and I, Dylan plays the role of my shadow, and I play the role of myself. And it's a dialogue song where we talk back and forth. And on Beat Music, he produced this entire thing. And he produced it at first, and he actually came to me and he said, listen, I think the only way to use this beat is with Dylan Chase and to have a dialogue song back. He thought it in his mind before the only person that knew it before OB was God. So
shout out to OB. That's nice.
Yeah, shout out to OB. OB was like a huge influence on this. He cooked up the beat, he pitched the idea, we got together, we started writing, and it became exactly that. It's a dialogue song between Dylan and I. He plays the role of my shadow, I play myself. And he just talks back and forth. We talk back and forth in this mental bout that we have together. But OB produced that. He killed it.
Now, Shadow, for me, as I listened through it a couple times, 2, 3, 4 times, Shadow, sometimes I felt like I just looked at the shadow as like our flesh. And then there was other times where I looked at the shadow and looked at it as just like our past. That kind of like looms over you. So is it just kind of up to the listener to what the shadow is?
It's up to the listener to identify their own shadow.
Got it.
I was simply just sharing my shadow. Shadow is just the things that I hide, repress, and deny. Think of a shadow. It's something that hides in the shadows. It's not something that's put in the forefront. So a shadow, my shadow are the things that I hide, repress, and deny about myself. They could be good things. They could be like for example, I'm 6'3", 260. I was 260 pounds at one point, in high school, I didn't like sharing with people that I liked poetry and I played on the
Right.
football. Nothing wrong with that. It's part of my shadow. That's an insecurity. So it can be all sorts of things compiled. It can be sin that you've stuffed in a backpack
That's good.
over and over and over again. It could be wounds that you just stuffed in your backpack over and over and over again. Whatever it is that we don't share or put out in the forefront. And we as people, we decide what we show people.
Mhm.
Like icebergs. The tip of the iceberg is on the top and the rest of it's on the bottom. And
Right.
we choose which is on the top and which is on the bottom. And our shadow is most likely the things that we push underneath the surface. And so it is kind of up to the listener, but ultimately we all have our own shadow. And it's up to the listener to identify, like, what is my shadow? What? Because in the song "Talk Back," my shadow, we give it a voice. We give it words and dialogue. So now it's different than just me talking about it or referencing it. It's almost alive in the song. And so my shadow has voices that tell me lies and insecurities, sorts of things. And so maybe for someone else, they struggle with that as well, right? With those mental bouts of talking almost to themselves, tearing themselves down, saying things that, they think others think about them that might not even be true. It might just be themselves projecting that judgment on others, on themselves. There's so many things. And so my hope was just to share my own story. And if someone does relate to that, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And we have to talk back to those inner voices that are in our best interest. And sometimes it's us, sometimes it is the enemy. Sometimes it's a person we actually have to talk back to. So really enjoyed that. Let's move on to my second favorite track on this project, Shadow and Gold. Now earlier in the review, you talked a little bit about shadow. Talk to me and unpack the idea of gold, and especially I believe it's at the end of this track where it's just like a group of guys talking about what their gold is. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So pretty much what I can share with you is that because we talked a little bit about shadow and how it's things we hide, repress, and deny.
Yeah.
Things that we don't want others to see. Well, gold is the opposite of that. But a lot of times our gold, we might hide, repress, and deny our gold. We might hide things about ourselves that are good about ourselves, the strengths of who we are. But at the same time, maybe they're the things that we only show people because we want them to see that that's who we are, and we hide everything else. But the gold is the gold that God has given us when we're created in His image. It's hard to convince me that it can be true that we're created in God's image. And I know sin destroys that image. But when we're created in God's image, man, like the gifts, the beautiful nuances and the beautiful qualities that people have and how you see God and people in a lot of different ways and what they do and the beauty of who people are in our humanity, I really believe God has given each and every one of us gold that He wants us to know, He wants us to be mindful of, and He wants us to be aware of because it's good. Like it's, He creates the whole universe, but then when He creates man and woman, He says it's very good.
And I'm not sitting here texting. I'm actually, that reminded me of that scripture. I have to look at where it is, 2 Corinthians 4:2, where it says that we have this treasure in jars of clay. So that's, as you were talking, that's what came to mind, is that even if we have this fallen nature, being made in His image, and sin has damaged that, even if that is so, when we're reborn in Christ, which is a shout out to the Reborn track that I really enjoyed, you have that testimony that like now the Spirit is living on the inside of me and I do have this treasure inside me. So brilliant, man.
We got to live in that. And when we own that, there's like, that's empowering. It helps us live a more accountable life and a more authentic life, a more gracious life, enables us to give more grace to people, give more grace to ourselves, right? Because a lot of times we let that shadow live as if we're the shadow, as if we live in its image. Like that's just not the case. Like we don't have to do that.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And that's just now that I hear that message, it makes me want to make that like my favorite song on the album. But my favorite song on the album was Man in the Mirror, just because, like I was saying before, Mitch Durrell, and he's going to be Man in the Mirror has probably been in every section of this countdown. I might have held back and didn't put it in my five favorite bars because I knew it was going to be everywhere. But Man in the Mirror was definitely my favorite track. I threw it immediately into one of my playlists. So really, really, really enjoyed that one. Let's go ahead and just hop into, because we're going to be talking about this song again in next segment. Let's go ahead and hop into my two favorite tracks. Oh, no, not my two favorite tracks, my two favorite features. Let's go.
Two features.
For me to be acting like a menace, like the moment like tonight couldn't be the day that I'm finished. Through this sweet chin music caused me to hit rock bottom. My pedigree ain't what it was, it's stone cold how I got up. Thought I was a Christian with an edge, lost my belt to a bottle. Almost displaced my face like I was art from Picasso. Gotta be constant with the wrestle, bring my flesh to its knees. My desire's been arrested despite the pressure is peace. Is it necessity be a blessing whenever this man feeling weak? Nothing pretty about the wrestle despite the elegant speech.
And I hope he hear it. The serpent, I won't get near it. The hold is breaking. Fall on my knees, sick and defeated, cause I feel like nothing can change me. Praying he frees me from the shackles that Satan is using to chain me. Seeing the flaws that people have pointed out in me for years. I would ignore him because of my fear. Saying I was a bad Christian, although it was clear. Mirror, mirror, that's on the wall, I have got to thank you. Since you gave me the strength to tell Satan God outranks you. Help me face myself, fix the blemishes, scars and bruises. And my angels fighting no war for me, hope the devil lose it.
Yeah, so let's talk about J. Crumb first. Did you know that he was going to use that many wrestling references in this verse? Or is that something he just surprised you with?
No. It surprised me, but I was like, he like exceeded our expectations, but at the same time, we were like, we knew he was going to kill it.
Right.
The idea to him that we wanted to do this idea with wrestle, and we pitched, the premise behind it and how it's about Jacob wrestling with God, about how we're wrestling with God. Like, yeah, I think there's like 7 or 8. I don't know. There's a lot. There's like a whole bunch of wrestling references in a short verse. It's like less than a minute, man. And he just killed it, man.
He just in that snippet that I played, I think he went through Sweet Chin Music, Rock Bottom, Pedigree. I didn't catch that one till later. I was a little slow on that one. And what was the other two on there?
Pedigree ain't what it was because Stone Cold Hot got him. So it's like Stone Cold. Yeah, so I mean,
it was crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. So shout out to J. Crumb. Now let's talk about Mitch Durrell and his like you talked a little bit earlier about his feature on there and how you just wanted somebody who can just like rap, and I think you picked the perfect person for it. What was the thing you enjoyed the most about Mitch's verse?
What I loved most about his verse was his energy. He's not someone he brought he brings an unmatched level of energy. Like when you said, like as soon as his comes in, it's like,
we buckle up.
Mitch is here. So yeah, I love the energy he brings. I love how he was able to really share, not just with wordplay and puns and all sorts of things, but he was able to actually do a good job at participating in the purpose behind the actual song. Like Man in the Mirror, he was able to really kind of take his own things that he's had to look in the mirror in his own life, his own experience. He took himself and he put himself on the line. He put that in the song. So for someone to take something and treat it more than just a feature, right? Because there's you can do that. Just say, hey, this is just another feature. Right? I'll play this one safe. It's gonna be lyrical, whatever. It's great. Mitch didn't do that. None of the features did that, but Mitch did not do that. And I love that. I love how Mitch said, I'm gonna take like something that's real and honest and true and kind of scary to maybe share with others. I'm gonna say that in this track. He went big on that, and I appreciate him for that. He was super easy to work with, and
that's great. That's great.
Awesome artist. Hit him up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we can't end the feature segment. I know there's only 2, but we can't end it without shouting out Dylan Chase. You talked about earlier how you guys were just tossing that back and forth. So shout out to Dylan Chase as well.
But right now, get his merch. Check out his store. Dylan helped me produce he mixed and mastered the whole thing. He let me record it in his own.
Wow.
Dylan is he was like the head coach of this whole thing, him and B-Way. So shout out Dylan Chase.
Shout out Dylan Chase. So let's go ahead and hop into my one recap.
1. Recap.
All right, Bryce, man, I really appreciate you coming on here today for this final recap. I do want to do one quick thing. There's one track on here that we did not talk about, which is Jacob's Dilemma. Now, I thought that was brilliant to kind of put that in there. And talk to me a little bit about who was that speaking, number one, but then just a little bit about the creative process of sliding in some preach word into your spoken word project.
The guy on that track, his name is Thomas L. Thomas, and the guy is a pastor, minister, preacher, evangelist. He was one of my professors at the school I went to get my bachelor's. He is incredible, and we wanted to bring him on this song Jacob's Dilemma because, man, he knows his word.
Yeah,
he has a really great gift at being able to speak truth and speak like the truth over a text and captivate a listener. Like when you listen to him, and that's what it's both. It's not just speaking words that get people's attention. It's speaking truth that gets people's attention. And when you put those two things together, it's the perfect way to prepare someone for wrestle. It's like the, in WWE, they all have their walkout songs that they come out to.
Yeah.
The wrestling match. Jacob's Dilemma is the walkout before wrestle. And so Thomas did an excellent job. And we wanted to just bring on some, it's like a 2-minute plus preaching segment.
Yeah, I loved it.
And we wanted to give it to people, man, because, and it gives some context to wrestle. It gives some context that the story is based. This is a story that's a parallel to Jacob's story, how he wrestles with God. He's at the fork in the Jabbok. He has nowhere to go, and it's time. And Thomas did a really good job at kind of preparing the listener for that wrestling match, for that moment. He did a really good job. Nice.
Well, I'm probably gonna keep thanking you a lot because I really enjoyed this project. It's a breath of fresh air. It's something that I believe that the culture, that the body of Christ, number one, but then just like the culture of CHH, of Christian hip hop, I think it's something that they can hear and they can pull something from. I actually had a tweet. I wasn't going to say this, but I had a tweet a few weeks back, and I've never suffered from like depression as far as like it being in my life. I've had depressing moments, but I will never go as far as to say as I've been depressed. And another thing but there's a lot of talk about that within hip hop, mainstream as well in Christian music. But sometimes we don't ever get to the point of seeing triumph, of seeing like you having the answer to get over it. I also hear a whole lot about people talking about battling their demons. And sometimes I wonder, like, are people talking about actual demons, or are they just calling their struggles demons just because it's kind of like a cool thing to do? At any rate, whether it's an actual demon that we're battling or whether it's just a struggle, the key that's going to get us out of that and get us reborn, like you talked about in the project, is Christ. Yeah. So I really feel like this is a project that that a lot of people can learn from. A lot of people can build from. And begin their journey, just like how you end the project, but the journey continues. Like this is a ongoing daily thing that we have to do. So thank you so much for being here. Tell the people where they can find you, what you're working on. I heard you're doing a lot of cool things on your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So again, my artist name is Spoken Worth, and so you can find my music just anywhere you stream your music, Spotify, Apple Music. But you can also get connected with me through various different ways by just visiting my website, spokenworth.net. And you'll see that on my YouTube channel, we're telling the story, not just through the album, but through visuals. We're creating a visual for every single song on the album. We're sharing that visual, and then on the week leading up to sharing that visual, we're releasing behind the scenes footage, backstory videos to that song. So each song is going to be a video for. There's going to be backstory videos for each song, and we're really just wanting to fully tell the story of Crucible Chronicles. So you get connected with me, spokenworth.net. You can stream anywhere you listen to your music. You can plug in Patreon. This summer, we're doing a lot of really cool stuff. We're going to be watching The Chosen together, film nights, TV show nights. We're we just last night did an album discussion and Q&A. We sat down and we talked. Wow. We hung out via Zoom. We do that once a month. There's merch discounts, early access to all content, as well as exclusive access to a whole library of music. Over the last couple of months, I've been releasing a song every month that I don't release anywhere else. And so patrons have access to that. So really, there's just a whole bunch of ways to connect with me, but I go by spoken word. So that's the way you can do it.
Well, great, Bryce. You have a new fan. It officially started 2 weeks ago when I heard The Fall. So happy to have you on. That's my first official interview on my YouTube channel. So this is a special one for me. For all you guys out there, he gave you all the details of how you can stay in contact with him. And until next time, you guys be easy and peace in, confusion out, and be positive.
Be positive. Thank you.